Hey there, gang. Time for another comic book unboxing video. And yeah, I don't know why I say another. I grade comic books every day. I've got to unbox them every day. It's what I do. And it's so much fun. So if you like comic books, stick around. We are going to have some fun. Hey there, Bobby. Welcome to Shanghalla. My name is Duke, and this is an unboxing video. So, a couple of bits of business house cleaning to get out of the way before we start. If that does not interest you, then just simply scroll ahead to where you start seeing comic book covers flashing on the screen. But first off, this is a last call for Soul David Thompson, a YouTuber by that name. As regular viewers know, I held a giveaway when I hit 500 subscribers. I gave away a couple of Bronze Age mystery boxes. One of them has already gone out to Chris from North Garden Comics. And Chris actually did an unboxing video, so you can see what it was that he got. I will put a link down below so that you can go watch that. And Chris is a great guy. I highly recommend that you subscribe to his channel. He does great content. Well, he does great content, and I think he's a great guy. That's the persona he puts forth. I have no idea what he's like in IRL. I don't know him. He could be a pedophile axe murderer for all I know. but on his videos, he comes across as a great guy you would want to know, and his content is indeed great. So I highly recommend that you subscribe to his channel and go watch that video to see what he got. But I want to get the other box to Soul David Thompson, and I have not been able to reach him. His YouTube page has no contact information. I left a comment on his page on the discussion feature, and I replied to a couple of comments that he has left here on this channel in the past, hoping that he had his notifications set like I do, that, you know, when somebody replies to a comment I've left anywhere, I get a notice. I haven't heard from him. And so if I don't hear from him by the end of this next week here, this video will probably go up over the weekend. It's Thursday as I record this. But if I don't hear from him by Friday next, I'm gonna be forced to go to the second alternate. So Soul David Thompson, if you're watching, or if anybody who is watching knows him, please have him get in touch so I can get that box out to him. Second thing, I need to I feel like I need to apologize for the last 2 or 3 videos. I got kind of caught up in the analytics and noticing that people only watch about half even of my most popular videos here, which are these unboxings. And I started fooling around, you know, cutting out the cold open and trying to condense the initial commentary and try not to gab so much throughout. And when I went to edit them, I just wasn't happy with them. I'm like, well, these suck. I would not watch these myself. So I'm just going to have to, I think, go back to being me, such as it is, and hope for the best, you know, and do things, you know, as Stan Lee found his success doing, you know, stop doing what you think you're supposed to do and just do what you want to do. And hopefully that will work out. I mean, it doesn't mean that, you know, this channel will never grow and adapt and evolve. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to listen to your input, but I'm just going to try not to chase the analytics. So without further ado, please do like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the groovy things. Let's not waste any time. Let us get right to it. And you may have noticed here in the, as you've been watching the Rocketeer in front of the box we're working on today, you may have noticed a very large stack. And I've been itching to know, because I never know what is actually in the box until I open it up. I always wait until you are here so we can look at this together. There's a big bundle here at the top of this box, and I'm really interested to see what it is. So let's haul it out. And oh, neat. Okay. I should show it to you before I start saying things like, oh, neat, right? So look at this. So it's a big bundle of Spawn, but they're all Newsstand. That's cool. I don't know how deep it goes. It must go 30 or 40 issues. I don't know if it's all similar issues or the same. What do you think? You want to open this up and look at it? But Newsstand issues, we've spoken a lot before in this channel about the difference between newsstand issues and direct sales issues, and how for a lot of times there was really no price disparity at all. They were pretty much treated the same. And I don't know if it is part of the recent mania for alternates and variants, or if it's just, it's finally dawned on people how relatively scarce newsstand copies are, especially as you get into the 80s and 90s, compared to the direct sales versions of those same books. Once you get to the 90s, the direct sales books are like basically 10% or less of the print run. And all it means is it's just that it's a book that's sold at a grocery store or, some regular newsstand somewhere, a bookstore, something like that, as opposed to in a comic book store. And so not only are the newsstand books rarer, I always trip over that. I never know exactly what to say. More rare, less numerous. They're also rarer. Let's just use that word. We'll call Mr. Webster. I haven't put it in his dictionary. Rarer. The newsstand books are rarer and high grade because they were read by by general consumers, by people who just read the comic book and treated it like a disposable consumer good as they are intended to be. Comic books were never meant to be limited edition collectibles. They are not Hummel figurines. So they tend to exist in lower grade. These all look, or at least this top one looks like it's in high grade. So yeah, let's go ahead, if I can get into this. All right, so there's number 2, newsstand. Number 6, so they're not consecutive. Well, they might be. We might have all of them, but they're at least not in the thing consecutively here. 7. There's number 10 with Dave Sims' Cerebus. And I find that for the regular issues, number 10 is about where you kind of want to stop selling it as a single, at least if you're trying on eBay to get $10 a book. After that, you kind of want to have them maybe in lots of 2 or 3 issues. And once you get past 100, you need like 5 or 6 issues. And you can still do well. You'll get more than $10, don't get me wrong. But you want to sort of condense your effort, as it were. You don't want your labor cost of scanning and listing multiple things to be so high that it's not worth what you get. So anyway, that's what I find. And if you feel differently, then let me know in the comments below. There's 13. 14. And I was not a Spawn collector. I was actually virulently anti-Image when the company first launched. I didn't think any of the artists were very good at all. The typical Image book, I thought, had no story to speak of. The writing wasn't very good. And I thought for most of the artists, there was just, it wasn't a good study of light and dark, the way artwork should be. Not a lot of good solid contours. It was just a lot of extraneous lines filling stuff out that just filled in space but didn't really fill in form or depth or anything like that. And the perspective was always not very good. The anatomy was rough, and I was not a fan of Image at all. Now, I buy a lot of Image books now. I probably, in a typical month, buy more Image books than I do Marvel or DC. But the original core Image artists, I wasn't in on, and what I have for Image books in my own collection are largely things that I have acquired through the purchase of large collections at auctions and things like that. Oh, what does this one say? Tiny tear at upper left corner, slight crease lower left. Yeah. So all of these are looking very, 992, 94. There might be a few 96s in here, but I rarely will I list anything as a 9.6 or a 9.8. 9.4 is usually about the best grade I will give something as far as what we sell on eBay. In part because, after I grade the book, it goes to a lister who scans the book and, and does the listing for eBay. Then it goes in our shipping bins where it waits, and then it gets packaged up. And although we package them pretty good, they, you never know what the Postal Service is going to do. As a matter of fact, that box that Chris got, that Bronze Age box, left here in mint condition, and you can see on his video that by the time he got it, that box, it literally had the shit kicked out of it. I hate to use the profanity, but sometimes, you have to use the most appropriate word, and it did indeed get the shit kicked out of it. So it looks like we go up to 52, not all consecutive. No, we don't have all 52 issues here, but that's pretty cool. And they're all newsstand copies. And as I said, newsstand copies are much less numerous, rarer, for most books, and for image books in particular. I don't even know if most image books even went to the newsstands. Spawn certainly did for a while. We can see the evidence of it here. But it's pretty rare for the Spawn issues to find newsstand books, and so that is pretty neat. That's pretty cool. Those should do well on eBay. You watch. Usually it's about a week after I post this video that they will work their way through the system. But anyway, as I was saying, I have, even though we pack things well, I don't want to take the chance that a book that I've graded as a 9.8 is going to arrive in a 9.8. I mean, all of Chris's books arrived seemingly, judging by the video and the condition they were sent in, because the books were packaged pretty well. But boy, the outside of that box got, the heck kicked out of it. Here's some more Spawn, and these are direct sales issues. So there's number 9. Other than number 1, that's the next big book in the run that people like, because the first appearance of Angela, whoever the heck she is. Here is, I believe this is the first Venom cover appearance. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong. And this is a newsstand copy. So, early 90s newsstand copy. Rarer, there's that word. Inhumans number 1. Seen a bunch of these lately. This looks to be about the best version we've seen. Oh no, there's a little stuff up here. Marvel Team Up Annual number 1 with the X-Men, 1976. So this is an early appearance, fairly early, of the new X-Men outside of the X-Men title. So that's cool. And it's a Dave Cockrum cover, so that's nice. And this is the first issue of Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. Again, as we discussed in a recent video, you'll find that under M for Master, not under H for Hands or S for Shang. Or Shang. What was it? Doug in Alabama left a comment on a recent video. I was complaining about how they pronounce Shang-Chi, and he wanted to know if this was now Shanghalla. No. It is Shanghalla, and this will forever be Shang-Chi, in my mind, anyway. But anyway, this is the first issue of his series. This continued the numbering from Marvel's Special Edition, where Shang-Chi made his first appearance in number 15. And we've discussed in other videos why back then Marvel would have chosen to start that series at number 17 when they changed the title, as opposed to rebooting with a new number 1. And if you don't know the answer, then go back and look at some of those videos. This is cool. So cool, it can't even fit on the camera. Famous Funnies, the first regular ongoing series, and number 49, fairly early. First regular ongoing comic book series in the current format. There was a title from Dell, I think it was just called The Comics, and that was in the 20s, but it was a larger, different format. But as far as the current format that we recognize today as a comic book, this was the first continuing series. This is from a company that was called Eastern Color Press that only ever put out maybe 3 or 4 different titles. And this is all newspaper reprints, mostly strips you don't know today, like Napoleon, who I think Napoleon's the dog. But it also had Buck Rogers. And unfortunately, there's a great website that has a lot of public domain books. I believe it's called Comic Book Plus. And you can go and read thousands and thousands of books from the Golden Age, the Atom Age, Some pretty rare stuff, and they have a pretty near complete run of Famous Funnies. The problem is Buck Rogers is still under copyright, so every issue of Famous Funnies that they have up does not have the Buck Rogers feature in it. So that's too bad. But that's pretty cool. Number 49, that's probably, well, I'll put it on the screen, but I'm going to guess that's still in the 30s. I think this series started in 1934-ish, 5-ish, 6-ish? 6-ish. So this might even be pre-Action Comics #1. I'm not sure what issue number Famous Funnies was on when Action 1 came out. So this could be not just a Golden Age book, this could be a Platinum Age book. I need to do a video with all the different ages. Let's see, Doctor Strange number 170. 172, Dormammu. Dormammu. This one is in a sleeve. 173. 177, and Doctor Strange, his brief run in a more superhero type of costume. That was an attempt to try and goose the sales a little bit by making him look a little more like a superhero, which was just a matter of giving him a full face mask, the underwear on the outside as opposed to the tunic, and some gloves. This was probably a better effort at goosing the sales, a crossover with Spider-Man. Number 180. This is another 180. And what have I got here? 181. 182, the Juggernaut. 183. Now I told you here is Marvel Special Edition number 16, so that's the second appearance of Shang-Chi. If we had 15, I'm sure if it was in anything similar to this condition, it went to CGC. And our books that we send to CGC that get, slabbed, those are sold on a site called comiclink.com. Nice. Oh, now this is, sometimes you will see this listed in the price guides as a precursor or a prototype. It's really not. It just Stan Lee reused the name. And Stan Lee's memory, he may not have even remembered that he had written this book and used this name. He wasn't really self-swiping. He might have thought the second time that he invented it on the spot. Stan had a famously poor memory. But anyway, this is a monster book, as Strange Tales was at this time. It's issue 84. And, the monsters, the aliens, and this one had magnetic powers, and his name is, in fact, Magneto, which Stan would famously use for his magnetic mutant. The perspective here is kind of off. It's a Jack Kirby cover, and these buildings are kind of rounded, almost as if he's pulling on the building, too. I don't know. This guy's way out of proportion to this building as well. If he tried to, I don't think he could stand up in that room. And he could pretty much, if he was in this room, stretch out his arms and touch both walls. I'm such a nitpicker. Here's Strange Tales 100. Of course, back then you didn't hype a anniversary issue like this. It just was what it was. I was trapped in the crazy maze. Huh. That doesn't really look like Kirby. It looks like somebody trying to do Kirby. I'll have to look up and see who it is. Now, here is Strange Tales 101, and I think, is this the first? Oh, God, I forget where. I think it is 101 with the Human Torch series touch. Well, obviously, duh. There's 100. Here's 101. I don't have to remember anything. It's right there in front of me. See, now this is why I'm not chasing the analytics. I'm leaving my own stupidity in instead of trying to cut it out and keep the video under 10 minutes. I don't know what kind of carnival ride contraption these people are riding, but this is the first issue of Strange Tales to feature the Human Torch. His series ran for, I don't know what, 20, 25, 30 issues. They eventually had to bring in the Thing because they realized that the Thing was the more popular character from the Fantastic Four, but this is very early in the Marvel age. And see, the only This little MC here is the only designation that you would know this is a Marvel comic. But Fantastic Four was only on, I think, issue 7. And actually, this might have come out a week or two before issue 7, when they broke out the Human Torch into his own series. And Stan probably figured that, the Torch is a teenage character like readers. The Torch was a popular character during the Golden Age. If we're going to feature anybody from the Fantastic Four in their own solo series, well, it'll be the Torch naturally. That's what people are going to flock to. But for whatever reason, it just didn't really take. And as I said, they eventually had to bring in the Thing, and then finally they just dropped it. And this issue's got some staining down here, so that's probably why it didn't go to CGC. Otherwise, this would have been an excellent CGC candidate. So you look for that when it comes up. Starring the Fabulous Human Torch. Oh, by permission of the Fantastic Four magazine. So you read that, you'd almost think they're two separate companies or something. That's weird. Here's 109, and I think, is 109 the first Doctor Strange? It says here, reading copy. What does reading copy mean? It means BTH, beat to hell. And you can see here, it looks like it does. I'm not going to take it out and see, because I don't want to, I don't want to handle this book any more than is absolutely necessary. But it looks like it has very nearly a complete spine split. What is somebody written on here, by the way? Jerry Hogo? Hogio? No trade. So he wanted to keep this book badly enough that he actually wrote on it, no trade. Or unless, they were, swapping books back in the day. And this one you had to pay for. He wasn't going to trade this one for nothing. But I think 109 is the first Doctor Strange, which was almost kind of a throwaway backup feature that, Ditko brought in, and Lee almost didn't even really want to publish it. He was very disparaging of it. Like, he actually said, like, in a blurb somewhere, here's this new thing. Steve thought it up. You'll probably hate it, but... Which, I mean, really... you ask why Stan and Steve, broke ranks on each other, and a lot of people blame Steve and his objectivism. But if you look at the evidence, Stan always said he didn't know what Steve's problem was, but Stan really was kind of a passive-aggressive dick to Steve Ditko. Although, now the biography of Steve Ditko, and I did a review of it here on this channel. You can search it out. There's a recent biography, and there was a line in there that wasn't sourced to anything, and I don't know where it came from, but it said that Stan Lee actually introduced Ditko to objectivism, actually gave him his first, rather it was a pamphlet or a novel or a book or something by Ayn Rand. And it claimed that, and I find this hard to believe, but it said that Stan was interested in Ayn Rand's philosophy of what made a hero. But I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Again, it wasn't sourced to anything, quoted from anybody. It was just like this one kind of sentence, and it was like, well, that's really super interesting if it's true. But anyway, here's the Plant Man, or Chlorophyll Kid, as he was known at DC. The Rabble Rouser. Wow. that's like, as as supervillain names go, the Rabble Rouser is about one step above Paste Pot Pete. This is a very early appearance of Iceman, and it's his first appearance outside of the X-Men title. So I looked it up once, and I think the X-Men was on issue like 4 or something, 4 or 5 or 6 when this came out. So that makes that kind of interesting. Here is now, at this point, we are starting, and Doctor Strange did not run in, and I've missed it, but we did it on some previous issues too, that gave Doctor Strange a little shout out on the cover. I guess it starts with here, at least among the books that we have. But Doctor Strange is, beginning to get a little bit of love, and now he's beginning to actually get some space in the cover besides just a blurb. But Doctor Strange did not appear in every issue to begin with. It was kind of sporadic, and then took off after a time, where it began appearing in every issue, and eventually stuck around after the Torch got the boot. Human Torch and the Thing co-feature the mysterious Doctor Strange. So as I said, they eventually brought in the Thing to help bring the sales up. Here's the terrible trio. Here's Doctor Strange getting a little piece of the cover. Now the trio is the Terrible Toys. Here's the Watcher. And I think, is that, I can't remember if that's the last Human Torch, but as you can see here, Nick Fury takes over. And still, Doctor Strange is relegated to just a little blurb or cover spot. He's still not getting a full cover. And Nick Fury. And when you think about it, that was kind of a genius move to move Nick Fury up. You know, take advantage of the James Bond kind of Cold War spy thriller zeitgeist. Not a Zitgeist, that's a different thing. If you have a Zitgeist, you should get some medicine. But the zeitgeist, that was kind of a genius move to move him up from the war feature that he was. And of course, at the time, it was maybe what, 15, 20 years? So Nick Fury would have been maybe in his 40s, early 40s at this time, IRL. Now they have a hard job tying the characters to World War II, and everything's on that sliding timeline. And I'm like, dude, you have a multiverse. Use it. Just keep everything as it was. Move your characters to a new Earth. Oh, look what happened here. So we get 2 copies of this issue, number 142. This one is one that... So originally, newsstands had to return the full book. And that got to be a pain in the ass. So to return a book for credit, you know, a book that didn't sell, to prove that it didn't sell, you had to send back the top third of the cover, you know, the logo. And that's what they would send back. And eventually they just went to a full honor system. You know, the distributor would just say, yeah, we didn't sell 99 of those 100 issues you sent us. Take our word for it. Trust us. But for a time there, you had to rip off the top third, and you weren't supposed to sell it at that point. And that's why if you look in the indicia, the publishing information that's usually at the bottom of the first page of a comic book, it will say this book may not be sold in a damaged or mutilated condition. So basically, you weren't supposed to sell it after the top third of the cover was ripped off, because that was a book that, you know, the retailer, the distributor had claimed credit on, claiming it had not sold. So you can't then turn around and sell it. But they would. They would rip off the third cover and then sell it at a discount. This looks like it was cut off with a pair of silly scissors. You know, those scissors that are kind of that jagged edge. But anyway, story there. Now, I told you. I told you Stan Lee was a passive-aggressive dick to Steve Ditko. So, Ditko quit Spider-Man, obviously quit Doctor Strange at the same time. He quit Marvel entirely. This is the last Ditko story in Strange Tales. And what does Stan put on the cover? The end at last. You know what that meant. Stan was glad to be rid of Ditko. He may tell you, or have told you, past tense now, sadly, in later interviews, that, you know, he wished Ditko had stuck around, but he'd had his full of Ditko. You know, reportedly, you know, Ditko would come to drop off pages, and Stan wouldn't even come out of the office to talk to him. But yeah, this is kind of a dick move. The last Ditko story, the end at last. That's not an accident, I promise you. You let me know in the comments below if you think it was, you know, just coincidental. But I know. So now 148, we've got different people. I think it was Bob Powell. Am I remembering that correctly? Who, well, yeah, there's his, oh no, that's Bill Everett. That's Bill Everett's signature. Well, Bill, Bob, you know, same thing. Enter Kaloo. Exit Kaloo. He wasn't around very long. Enter Kaloo. Exit Kaloo. And, you know, enter Umar. You might have thought that's Umar just from that cover. And into the dimension of death. And there's some more. 156. And you know what? Because I have been pretty chatty, 157. We're only, well, we're a little more than halfway through this box. But I'm going to end things here just so the video doesn't get too overwhelmingly long. So come back tomorrow. We will finish off this box. And yeah, I'm going to finish it off right now. But if you want to see the rest of it, come back tomorrow. And until then, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.